Good morning, Roy. How are you?
Good morning, Stephen. I'm very well. Nice to speak to you again.
Yeah, I haven't seen you for a few years. I think the last time I met you in person, we were doing that medley of mediums down at Bolton.
Walking
I
on
think.
Thames.
Yeah,
That's
that's
right.
it.
That's the one.
Yeah. Okay, just to I'll just tell people what Coffee Time's about. Coffee Time's about spiritual chat and Q&A. Where you'll either find me talking or me and a guest talking. We'll pick a spiritual subject and talk about it. This is interactive, people. So if you need to ask a question, either me, Roy, or both of us, please put it up, and we will do our best to answer the question. Anyway, it's my pleasure to introduce you all to Roy McKay, who's been a medium for, I believe, over 50 years, and it come as a shock to me because I've had 48 years of spiritualism. I thought, well, between us, we've got over 100 years. So that makes us old. People call us dinosaurs, but I don't agree. But anyway, Roy, welcome and thank you for coming on with me.
Thank you.
Could you just tell the people a little bit about yourself and, your mediumship journey and where you are now? Thank you.
Yeah, as Stephen said, I'm Roy McKay. I've been working for over 5 decades. It doesn't seem like that. I'm sure Stephen will agree that once you start this journey, it's not about time. It just continues and continues and continues. I've tried to retire 3 times, and 3 times somebody up there doesn't let me retire. I've been a spiritualist medium. I work in trance on occasions, and I love working online. Done many different countries throughout the world, which I'm very proud of. As for my journey, I'm still on it. Anybody out there that thinks they know it all or they've learned it all and they don't have nothing else to learn, well, you've got a big shock coming because you've got a lot more to learn.
I agree with you 100%. Somebody asked me that when I'd retire from mediumship, and I said, mediums don't retire, we just pass away. We go to HQ, that's it. I mean, I must think, we just carry on because I think we love it and spirit keep us going and everything like that. Linda Rowan says, is my mum okay? She passed away October 2025 and I'm still grieving. So bad, missing you so much. Grief doesn't really go away, Linda. All right. My dad died in 2015 and 11 years ago, and I still grieve. I've written a poem about grieving, which I may read at the end of this. But I know that she's okay, and I'm sure Roy will agree with me, because she's now in a place of divine unconditional love. And she's with your other loved ones, and she's following her journey, her eternal journey in spirit. Would you agree with that, Roy?
I totally agree with it, and we have to remember it is a journey, and this is only part of it. We all seem to forget that this earthly life is temporary. Everything about this life is temporary. What we were worried about yesterday has gone, and we're worrying about something else today, and we're worrying about what's going to happen in the future. And I'm one of the worst for worrying about things like that. But I would be the first to say, try and live your life to the full. Give whatever you can, but regarding Linda's mum, sorry to hear you lost your mum, but it's true, the grief doesn't go away. You kind of accustom yourself to it, acclimatise yourself to it, but always try to remember that they're in a far better sphere than we are here. They don't have to go through the struggles and the strife of everyday life, and I'm sure, Linda, that you've probably noticed signs around you that suddenly come into your head and remind you of your mum. This is just how they come through to you, and maybe she knows you need to get over that grieving process before she comes through clearer.
Thank you, Roy. I 100% agree with you there. what I've been saying to congregations is that, after all these years of demonstrating and proving life after death and everything like that, connecting loved ones in spirit with loved ones on earth, that our loved ones want us to have the best lives possible. They don't want to see us crying and, moping around and putting our lives on hold. Yes, there must be a period of grieving, obviously, but I can tell you from my experience that our loved ones in spirit want us to have the best life possible. I'm sure you would agree with that. Because
Yeah, I mean, if you think of your parents, the way they look after us when we're on the earth and we're children and things like that, I mean, that doesn't go away. I mean, that love is always there. And they're always kind of letting you know that, just carry on, you'll get through this, you'll get over this. And sometimes, you'll do something in a certain way that might solve one of your problems, and you'll think, oh, that's just the way mum would have done it. Well, that's the way mum does do it, because mum is there with you, trying to help you find that solution.
That's right. And this leads me on to say what I said to Roy yesterday, what we'd talk about. First I said we'd talk about ghosts. Have you seen a ghost, or what you believe to be a ghost? Out of the blue, not anybody you know, but do you feel you've had a visit from spirit, or have you seen your loved ones in spirit after they passed away? Have they been in their garden, or sitting in their favourite seat, or whatever? But Roy is so right in saying that they inspire us in many ways. And I'm often saying to people that, spirit are finding the best way to communicate with us that they can. So you're welcome, Linda. And what I want to say is, it's not going to come in a big flash of light and all of a sudden they're standing at the end of the bed. It can come in, like through the intuition, a hunch, like Roy was saying, or it can come in a sign. It's not always butterflies, robins and feathers and stuff like that. It can come in many, many ways. So I just feel we have to sort of like step out of that. How much?
You broke up for a second there, Stephen.
Yeah, it's just how much our loved ones are supporting us from the spirit side of life. And thinking about it, when you get a message from a medium, your loved one is with you, that's a visitation from your loved one in spirit, isn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. And I always say, look for your own sign. I mean, there are some people that get a little bit of ringing in their ears. There are some people that the stomach plays around for a few seconds. Mine is generally, although it's not so much now over so many years, but when you get the goosebumps for no reason, you're just sitting there and you may be thinking about them, or you might be thinking about your problems, and then all of a sudden you get that shiver and you think, oh, we used to say somebody's walked over our grave. Well, they can walk over mine as much as they like, because when I'm gone, I won't be there.
Yeah, and that's the point. Body. Mel McConnell saying that she smells her loved one or spirit around her quite frequently. There's a Claire for that, and I forget what Claire it is.
Clairsentience.
Clairsentience, yeah. I thought I was clairsentience, but I don't smell them. I'll get the odd smell, but yeah, and that is an awareness smell. That sort of, you can smell that. If they smoke cigarettes, that's the usual one, or for the ladies, a perfume. Or everybody's got their distinct smell, haven't they? So if it's a smell that you can recognize, know that your loved ones are standing near you. Also, I just want to say it's a big effort for spirit to come and communicate with us on earth. It's a massive effort. And because they've got to vibrate more in matter to give us their smell or the feeling of them standing in the room or whatever, and to appear to us, it takes a hell of a lot of energy. and a hell of a lot of work for them. So I think we should sort of like give spirit that little bit of respect. But also, Linda, I'll put this comment up for you, Roy. She's saying, I've got a pic of my dad and a candle, and a pic of my mum, pic and a candle. I talk to them and the candle's flickering. Is that they communicating with me? Very possible, Linda. Or it could just be the air in your room. But what I'm saying is we think everything before we say it, don't we? And thought is the most powerful vibration in the world, so spirit tell us. So when you're thinking of them, you are communicating with them, and they do hear you. Okay, because we're all, yeah, go on, Roy.
Sorry, I just wanted to say also another thing that's very important when we get our signs is to acknowledge them. You know, instead of just go, oh, that's something. Just go, listen. I know you're there. I might not know exactly who you are, but I know you're there, because what you're creating that communication between them and you. And hopefully in their way, in your way, you'll build on that, and you'll start to feel the signs more. You start to feel the presence a little bit more, and it'll make so much more difference to the fact that you're missing them.
Yeah, you're not losing your head, Linda. You know, and you know, like I say, thought is communication. Prayer is thought. Every time we think of our loved ones, we are communicating with them. So you're not losing your head. If it's sort of like a breeze with the candle flame, or you feel them with you, but no, when you're sending your thoughts out to your loved ones, they are being heard by them, and it will draw them close to you. I hope that's helped, and please don't think you're losing your head, because you're not. Okay? You know, it's not just mediums at all this, you know. Yeah, go on, Roy.
I was just going to say, it's not just Linda thinks she's losing her head. I mean, when you think of what we do as mediums and what we have to pick up on and what we see, you know, the first thing we think of is like, what on earth am I seeing? You know, so, you know, and we have to remember, Linda, you know, we're all mediums. We're all psychics. We all have the same abilities. We all have the same energies. If we can use those energies, tap into those energies, then we can all work on the same level.
That's exactly right. Everybody's mind, body, and spirit. We're all aware on a level. It's just sort of like people like me and Roy and many, many others choose to develop it. I'll just put that comment up, Roy. Bear with me, Roy, because I'm still learning how to do this.
That's no problem, Stephen. I'm impressed.
Well, I'm impressed we're actually on. Yeah, but right, here's a good comment. I'm going to put this comment up, Roy, from Mel. Okay, it's a lovely question. I'll let you read it and answer it, and then I'll put my 2 pence in. Okay.
Okie dokie.
Good question.
It's a very good question, and I often say, and I used to say it when I used to do it in circle and things like that, when we were trying to help others to achieve their mediumship. The whole point of mediumship is not to doubt. You know, if we get images coming through, if we get words coming through, you know, it's very easy for us to go, oh yeah, well, I was thinking about that anyway. That's fine. If you want to go on that way, then continue. But I think you're kind of fooling yourself in a way. But if you turn around to them and say, I know you're there, you know, and ask them that question, because this is something I say, but always trust the answer that you get, because do you know what? The thought that's in your mind may also be the proper answer that they want to give you.
I agree with that 100%. Sometimes it can be that instant, Mel. You know, we're thinking of them, so we've created the link straight away, and we're thinking, I wonder what Dad would think, I wonder what Mum would think, or my brother or sister would think. And that thought comes into our mind because we know them. We know basically how they're going to respond and stuff like that. But because we've drawn them close to us and we're thinking of them, yeah, we may hear them in their own voice. That's a good marker, because when I teach mediumship, like what what I tell people is we all think in our own voice, don't we? So when we get a different voice, like for you, Mel, when you've got a man's voice talking to you, it must be coming from somewhere else. Like with me, if I've got a woman's voice in my head, it must be coming from somewhere else. And that's the rule of thumb. It's like with images. If you know it isn't you, it must be coming from somewhere else. And as me and Roy have been saying, it can be that instant we're thinking of them, so we've drawn them to us. We're asking the question, and vibrationally that they can answer us through our minds or put an image in our minds. Okay, but Roy's made a very good point earlier. Acknowledgement. Please acknowledge it. Say thank you, Dad. Thank you, Mum. I've heard that. Okay. Spirit does speak through the subconscious, but it's usually when we're asleep. Okay. Spirit do use the subconscious, but in my own knowledge, it's very much, when we're asleep and stuff like that. I don't know if you'd agree with that, Roy.
I would, but also going back just a little way, we also have to remember that through the thought energy, the energy of thought, and the chakra in the throat that allows the information to come through, we have to remember. Sorry, my vein is just totally gone. We have to remember that you don't get nationalities in thought. So if you're expecting Uncle Fred in Australia to come through and say, good morning to you, how are you doing there? It's not going to work. It's going to come in a gentle vibration. It's going to come in a vibration that hopefully you can understand straight away. So don't expect to always hear Dad's voice, Mum's voice. I would love to hear my mum's voice a lot more than I do. And my dad's. I mean, my dad passed when I was 5. I didn't even know him, but of course, like everybody else, I miss him. But it's about acceptance. It's very easy for other people to say, "Oh, that's just your mind." Well, if your dad come through, you'd hear his stutter, or what happens if my dad couldn't speak? Does that mean he can't come through? Well, no, because they're working on a vibration. It's a bit like these computers that you can get, that you can put your thoughts into the computer, and the computer does the words for you. And the person that can't use their hands or whatever, they hear that vibration, they hear that message, but it doesn't have to be in Mum's voice or Dad's voice. It just comes in the voice that's a spirit voice, that comes on a vibration. It comes on almost like on the wind.
Sorry, Roy, I was just reading a comment there.
That's okay.
Mel McConnell saying, I always hear the voice. Do you hear it with your ears, Mel, or is it within your mind? And how they'd say it. How would what she's saying? I'll put this up, Roy, so you can see it. How would an input come through, especially if they passed before they could talk? Well, what I want to say is as Roy so rightly says, it's about vibration. They are a vibrational frequency. And we mediums interpret that vibrational frequency. You would know it as emotion. Okay. And we can interpret those emotions, that vibrational frequency, into word. There is such a thing known as universal mind. Where you've got ancient Chinese guides or ancient Egyptian guides and stuff like that nowhere near that me or Roy couldn't understand if they were talking to us in their own language. But through universal mind, through that emotion, through that vibrational frequency, we can understand exactly what they're saying. So me, Roy, any other medium or anybody else if we're aware enough or attuned enough, we can understand what's being said. Okay. Sadly, I can also say that myself and Roy and many other mediums have given messages from babies that haven't survived till full term or children that have died young, and that's very, very sad. And that's a different kettle of fish altogether. But through that vibrational frequency, as Roy says, and interpreting that emotion and that thought, we can bring the message through, and I hope that answers your questions. Would you agree with that, Roy?
Well, I'd like to come in a little bit on that. we have to remember that the infant stage is for the earth. So, you know, when we have the children grow up in our vibration, you know, they're learning from us. When they return to the world of the spirit, they do not remain in the child stage for long because they're continually learning. They're going back to who they really were in the spirit world before they entered the material world. So, and sometimes, you know, if it's a young one that's passed over very early, you may get your mum or your gran or somebody come back in, and they will let you know that they have the child, and that the child is continuing to heal from the earthly stage. And also, when they're healing from the earthly stage, they are learning and retracting back what they knew when they were in the spirit world before they left for Earth. So, you know, give them time. And they will come back through. And that they always say to you when they're giving you this information from the spirit world, that these loved ones that have passed over, the children, they were linked to you. They chose to come through to you for their time on Earth. So therefore, when they're back into the world of the spirit, they're still connecting with you. They're still watching. They're still learning from you. You know, so if you want to be the lovely, kind soul that everybody adores, then you're teaching this child that this is the way to go. This is the way I would have taught you. And so this is the way you can attract my vibrations and learn from me. So try to think of the baby stage as more earthly stage rather than the spirit stage.
100%, Roy. What I'd like to add to that, Roy, is that spirit will communicate to us in a way that we can understand.
Yeah.
All right. What I will understand might be different to what Roy can understand, and so on and so on. Everybody. I once read a post from another medium, because there is the old way of working. I've given these type of messages before myself, and maybe you have, Roy, where you'll get a baby that died in 1960, and they're showing themselves as a 60-odd-year-old man now because they've grown in spirit. And if that's what, you know, and this post was saying it's all a load of cobblers and stuff like that, but if that's how the recipient of the message can understand it, that they've grown in spirit, why shouldn't spirit show them? Why shouldn't that loved one in spirit show themselves grown, or how they would be if they'd stayed on the earth? And Roy's very right in what he's saying. And it's completely gone out of my head. I'm sorry, I'm 66, you know. But you know, spirit will find a way of communicating with you in a way that you can understand, because the message is for you. Or even if you're on your own, sitting in your front room, it's for you, nobody else. So they will give it to you in a way that you can understand. Okay. And anyway, over to you, Roy. Have you got anything to add to that?
Well, it's one of those things that, you know, you've got to trust in what you're feeling and what you're seeing all the time. Yes, it's nice that they come in and give you a description of themselves, how they were before they passed, how they want you to see them now. But I find, especially with the ladies that come in, they tend to want to come in younger than when they passed. So sometimes you can give a description, and the person's like, oh no, she was a lot older than that, and you know, and you're trying to give all the descriptions as she was, that she's showing you. And sometimes the only result that you can get from that is to go look through the photographs. And when you get to the photographs of mum or whoever it is that's coming through, just say, look, oh yeah, that's how she was at 30. If she wants to come through and remind me, this is how I am. I don't want to come through with all the wrinkles and all everything else. I just want to come through to show you I'm at my best.
And that's a great way of describing it. I've got a memory from a church we both serve, Roy, Bob Woking, and I was giving this lady her grandmother, and but she was showing herself like when she was in her early 30s. She was young and vibrant and pretty and all the rest of it. And I'm saying, listen, it is so solidly a grandmotherly vibration, but she's showing me herself as an attractive young woman. She's saying it can't be her because she died when she was 102. Yeah, I gave the evidence from her, and she was talking about how she was in later life, but she would not move from that image of being like this young, early 30 something. See, spirit, this is another point, Roy. Spirit can show themselves in any way, what shape or form they want to.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at some of the degrees of how they do come in, because I mean, obviously we've got the lovely vibrations when it comes in, but sometimes if you end up working with somebody that's not been able to settle in the spirit world, they can be quite mischievous and throw you off track. But yeah, listen, these loved ones want to come through to you. They want to prove to you, this is me. So whatever it takes that they can give you, even if it's something you can't take now, in 2 weeks' time, somebody will be talking to you about something, and you go, "Oh, I just realised what that meant." And it might not be for now. It might just be that you realise it a couple of weeks down the line.
That's very true, Roy. What Mel McConnell's saying now is, I'd love your thoughts on if there's any difference between our souls and our spirit. The best way I can explain it, and I'll hand it over to Roy in a second, the best way I can explain it is the soul is the cup and the spirit is the liquid within it. Your soul is the one that stays within the realms of spirit, and the spirit comes to experience this earth plane and all the joys and trials of the earth plane, but then returns back to the soul with its experiences. Would you agree with that, Roy?
I agree, and I'm a firm believer that your soul is always linked to the spirit world anyway. If you think of, I like to think of it as like a silver thread, which keeps me on balance. So I've always got my learning to do, but I've never left the world of spirit. And then I like to think that the soul is the part of me, the good part of me, if you like, that is helping you make the right decisions, helping you take you and teach you through the life that you're in. Do you know what? There's a lot to be said about working out the difference between the soul and the spirit. You're a soul that returns to the spirit world, so are you a spirit? You're a spirit that is working on the earth, so are you a soul? I think, to me, the soul is what I'm yearning to make better, to be a better me. It's my energy, it's my life, it's my line, it's everything to do with me, and that will be always still the same me when I return back to the world of the spirit world.
We could say that the spirit and the soul are one and the same thing. They're part of each other, couldn't we?
Well,
because when I've got a glass of wine, it's still a glass of wine, even though I drink it and the wine's not in it anymore. You know what I mean? I hope people can understand what I'm trying to say there. But when the spirit comes to earth, it's a liquid coming out of the cup. And you made a very good point there. When you return to spirit, with your experiences, you're hoping to raise the vibrational frequency of your soul. And that to me is the purpose of the spirit. I don't know if you'd go along with that, Roy.
Yeah, we're on that learning process, and everybody's going to think different things, and different reasons for things. But as my thoughts are, I'm a soul that's come to the earth to learn what I need to learn and to do it as best as I can. You could go a lot deeper with the soul and the spirit, I think.
Yeah, I think we could go a hell of a lot deeper, but we've only got half an hour left, right? But and Mel McConnell's saying, sorry for the hard questions. I don't have many people to ask, but this is why I created Coffee Time, Mel, is so that me and another medium, a healer, whoever I get on, can answer these questions, because everybody else is churning out messages. So that's why I created Coffee Time, so we could get this philosophy, spiritual knowledge out there. And that's what me and young Roy are trying to do today. But very good question, Mel. I've got it up on the screen there, Roy. So yeah. How would this work with reincarnation if our spirit comes through with mediumship? comes through with mediumship, does that mean our soul then releases our spirit for contact with family members? Or do you believe we reincarnate once loved ones have well and truly passed?
Okay, I'm going to let you start with this because I want to read this through slowly, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I need to read through it slowly again because, all right, how would this work? Reincarnation. Okay. If our spirit comes through with mediumship, I'll tell you what, my teacher Berenice not come through. This is years ago in Circle 1979. And we were talking about past lives and reincarnation and stuff like that. And she said, well, this is actually to say, is this our present life? Even though we're conscious here, is this our present life? Because there's versions of us around in different lifetimes. I mean, I've tried to think about that over and over again, but without being rude, it sort of like screwed my head up a bit trying to think about it. I'm not a quantum physicist.
The thing is, we're all at different levels of understanding, different levels of intelligence. So, we have to remember that. And there may be somebody that can put these things in a better way than you can, or maybe you can put things in a better way than they can. It's all to do with your experience, the soul's experience. If that's in there, that you've been in that level of understanding and you've learned from maybe the teachers in the spirit world, you have to accept what you feel is right. And it's like when you read when you read a book on a teaching book on mediumship and stuff like that, you can read that book all the way through. And maybe this is the way that you think it should be, or maybe you're thinking, hang on a minute, I don't believe that bit. I don't understand that bit. I'll take that bit. I'm not taking that bit. So you take what you need from the information and the experiences that you have within you. The way I was taught many years ago, I wasn't taught, it came to me when I was doing a meditation, is that, when you work in the spirit world, you work with others close on the earth. So whatever you're learning on this earth, whatever you're successful at learning on this earth, that goes with you to the spirit world. When you're in the spirit world, you use that to help others. They don't have to be relatives. They can be other people on the earth that are going through certain things that you went through. So you as a spirit, you're helping to help that soul along in their education, shall we say. So the way I was told is, when you get people that say they've had so many different past lives, and they can show you a point of this, or they can show you this happened and that happened. Do you know what? Some of this is because you've worked with so many people as a spirit, as your soul works with the spirit through the spirit world to the earth. You're helping those on the earth. So it's kind of a reincarnation to me is a bit of a mismatch. Yes. Obviously, there are those that feel that they didn't do what they needed to do and want to come back to the earth. And I'm sure that is granted. But we work with so many people, in different years, in different eras, because we're from the world of spirit. And all that is logged in. So you could, when I come back to the earth, if I wanted to, you could say to me, well, here's your reincarnation. We're going to do a reconstruction of your life. We're going to go back through, and you come up with so many different things, because they say, oh, you've been this person, you've been that person, you've been this person. But basically, are you really just saying, these are my past lives, but they keep infringing on the life that I have on the earth? Does that make sense?
It does, Roy. It does, Roy, because I've been regressed. And a lot of people seek regression therapy, don't they? To see where past lives are impacting on their current life or perceived current life. Okay. Believe it or not, I was a monk 4 or 5 times. Okay. Really? I try not to laugh, right? But it was a monk that was doing all the writing, and I love to write and stuff like that. To me, reincarnation is a working mechanism of the universe, and karma is that mechanism. But you're right in what you say, Roy. It is a choice whether you choose to reincarnate or not. Okay, because as far as I understand it, you pass away and you get your life review, and it's sort of like decided on where you're going to go from there. But it's your choice whether you reincarnate to learn those lessons again or not, because karma is a great big spiral, and it's often said, if you don't learn the lesson, you just keep going around that one circle until you learn the lesson, then you can go up the spiral a little bit more. It's a big subject, Mel. Massive
But
subject.
Isn't that like being on Earth? Going around and around, facing the same problems all the time until you crack it, and then you can move on. You don't return to that because it's embedded within you. It might be in the soul. It might be in your life's history book. But how many times do you talk to somebody and they say, "Oh, this keeps happening and that keeps happening," and I'm one of the worst. Believe me, I go through the same thing 2 or 3, 4 times, and other people get frustrated with me and think, "Oh, why don't you listen and just deal with it?" No, it's for me to deal with. It's no good me saying, "Okay, I'll do it your way because that's the way." No, it's for me to say, "Yes, I've dealt with that part of my life, and I feel happy with that part of my life."
Do you know what? I agree 100%. But what I also want to say is, because I'm like you, Roy, and I think most people like us are like it. We keep having to learn the same lessons over and over again until we finally get it. But all I want to say, that extends out into eternal life. If we keep coming back and we're not learning the lessons that we should be learning, then we're invited to come back and keep doing it. So I just think, let's try and be aware what parts of our lives are going wrong or keep going wrong. How can we change it? Because I don't know if you'll agree with this statement, Roy, but a lot of people think that spiritualism is about life after death. Well, modern spiritualism is about proving life after death and stuff like that. But it's about the eternal journey. It's about understanding our eternal selves and how we proceed as our eternal selves. But it's about change, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's the earthly life is about planning your advancement when you return to the world of the spirit. If this is going to get me further along the line and help me to understand more when I return to the spirit, then I've got to learn this. I've got to go through this, and I think, this is the way it is. What you learn is helping you. And again, when we were talking earlier, when you're in the spirit world, you're helping those on the earth go through things that you went through when you were on the earth. But they're not going to make your decisions for you. They're going to say, "Hey, look at this. This is doing this and this is doing that. Where do you think that works?" And then you can look closer at it. But the spirit world are always going to return because they do not want you to lose that link that you have with the loved ones on the earth. They don't want you to lose the link with the things that you learned through education, whether it be through the spirit world or through the schoolings. It's quite. You could go on and on and on with this, but your experience in the spirit world is helping those on the earth as well.
I agree 100%, and I just think, just to add, I think I've said it before. I think the spirit and the soul are one and the same thing. It's just that the spirit is more fluid and can travel to Earth and live in a physical, material environment to those lessons, to come back to enhance the soul in whichever way it enhances the soul. Reincarnation is a massive subject, but you throw karma into the mix. That's the working mechanism of it. And I think, this is what spirituality teaches, is that, we should look at where things are going wrong in our lives or what keeps going wrong and look to see how we can change it. Because to me, spiritualism is about evolution, which involves change. We can't
improvement is there all the time for the taking.
That's right. Yeah, we get the opportunity to evolve and improve ourselves, our state of our heart and mind, and give up our bad choices every second of the day. this became apparent to me in 2011 when I was going completely the wrong way. And I was lucky enough to have a lovely spiritual teacher that taught me how to change my ways, and life just more or less automatically improved then once I started following the right path. Yeah, so anyway, people, if you have any experience of spirit, like seeing your loved ones or seeing a ghost, please let us know. We've still got like about 19 minutes left. All right. So please keep throwing those questions at us. Mel McConnell, thank you. You've asked some absolutely amazing questions, but never think that your loved ones are far away. They're there in a thought. Have you heard of the golden cord, Roy?
If you're talking about the cord that is connecting you to the spirit world and to your life on the earth, yes, of course.
Yeah, but that golden cord connects us all. That's with your. This is in my understanding. I agree with what you just said, 100%. But we are connected by that golden cord to our loved ones because we're in the same sort of soul group.
Yeah.
We travel to Earth backwards and forwards with them at different times, different eras, and everything like that. One person could be your dad, but one lifetime could be your wife the next, or your pet dog another time. It depends on our work, but we're all connected by this golden cord, and that golden cord never breaks. So please don't think, because I think physical death is very final, and we get absorbed in the finality of it. But please know that we're all connected by this golden cord, and our thoughts to our loved ones, and our love to our loved ones keeps that connection alive and well, and they do come around us and they do communicate with us. I'm just going to put this comment up from Mel. I'll put yours up in a minute, Kirsten. Right, me and Roy are going to have a quick read.
Well, you've got to take it two ways, really. I mean, if you're hearing a constant banging, and you say, okay, that's the spirit world, thank you very much, but you do have to kind of do a few investigations. I mean, you're saying that, and then you go upstairs and the window upstairs is tapping and banging because it's not secured enough, but those from the spirit world, I'm a firm believer that one of those things that they give you is a visual out the corner of your eye, because everybody gets them. And it's one of those things that I always think, well, your brain is an absolutely fantastic thing. It knows everything that's going on. It works with your eyesight very, very, very closely. And if your brain is acknowledging, oh, there's something out of the corner of my eye, then there was something there. That's the way I look at it. I love the footsteps. I mean, I've got carpet throughout the house, but I can be sitting in there and it's just like I've got a set of stairs with no carpet on. You just hear the walking around. Always trust these things. Don't always put them down and think, well, everybody sees something out of the corner of us. Yeah, they do, but not everybody acknowledges that this is one of the ways that the spirit world will come to you. Again, it's about acknowledging that, hey, I know you're there. I might not know who you are, but I know you're there. And we sometimes, some people will see a whole face as they turn their head to see something else. The face is there for a split second. We have to remember that it takes a lot of energy for these connections for them. So they're not going to stand there, building up the energy so you can see me 100% as I was when you were a baby. You're not going to see the dog in this way or in that way. It takes time. Everything is very instantaneous with the spirit world. When you're working with mediumship, okay, you can hold on to these things for a while because they're allowing you to describe what you're seeing and what you're giving. But yeah, listen, I always say trust what you feel. Trust your intuition. That's the biggest psychic center you've got.
Yeah, acknowledgement and trusting what you feel is very true. I'm very jealous of mediums that can see spirit full form. I shouldn't say jealous, but it'd make my life easier if I could see them full form rather than in my mind's eye or a feeling of them or whatever. But yes, you're dead right, Roy. Most people, if not all people, see spirit out the corner of their eye. I do quite a lot. And I just acknowledge things. Thank you for coming or whatever, or in that brief second, I'll hang on, I'm just doing that, Roy. Right, okay. In that brief second, sometimes I'll know who it is, or I'll see who it is, and I'll say thanks for coming, or hello, how you doing, stuff like that. That's the acknowledgement, and it is communication with spirit. Please remember, people, that spirit will communicate you in whichever way they can. And it may seem quite random. And as Roy's saying, and as I've said, they have to use a hell of a lot of energy to communicate with us. So please be aware. What Kirsten Graham's saying, Roy, hi, sometimes I've turned my head and I've seen something shoot past me so fast. I also get ringing in my ears. That can be spirit just getting you to notice them. Okay, that's hello, we're here.
Yeah.
So just in your own mind, just say thanks for that little sign or that little vision or whatever it was. What do you want to tell me? Just send it out in thought. With the ringing in your ears, Kirsten. I don't know if you've heard of Edward Case, but why people get ringing in their ears, it's for a higher calling and all that. But usually we mediums interpret ringing in the ears as clairaudience, and clairaudience is hearing spirit. So they may be developing your ears. What I would suggest to you, Kirsten, is get down to your local spiritualist church and see if they've got a circle going on so that you can develop it further. Okay, what would you like to say, Roy?
Well, the ringing in the ears is there, as I said earlier on, about when we want connection with the spirit world, and then we say, we're not going to, and then we get the goosebumps and everything else like that, all the different signs. To me, I just think it's a classic, and we don't actually hear it through the ears. If you next time you get it, you'll feel it's more in your throat, and that's because the psychic center, which is clairaudient, is your throat. So it's actually the vibration is being made there, much like when you speak, the vibration is being made with other muscles in the body to allow you to do that. Yeah, I mean, I've had this numerous times, but how many people, when they get this feeling that somebody has just walked past them, how many times do they feel, oh, I nearly bumped into somebody and there's nobody there, and it happens at the same time that somebody you feel has walked past you? Because that's another good sign. You actually feel their connection with you.
That's very true. Kirsty's just going on to say, yes, I've heard my brother in his voice. So your brother's just trying to let you know that he's alive and well in spirit and he's doing okay. And like I say, that to me is clairaudience, and if you wanted to develop it, you could. Right, okay.
That's a very close link to hear them in their own voice, and as we know, it takes a lot of energy just to make that connection.
Yeah.
So he must have caught you just at the right time. I like to think that you were at a time when you were really balanced and everything, and maybe a little thought went up to him, or across to him, should I say? And then of course he came in, and you are linking your vibration of your memories with him from the earth to where he is talking to you from the spirit world. So the two have mixed, and you've been extremely lucky to have got that vibration where you can actually hear that exact voice. Some people will hear the voices, but they won't recognize the voice. They will only recognize the way it's said, the tone that it's mentioned in, whether it's like one of those lovely sarcastic things that they're coming in and saying, where you just go, yeah, there's no way that wasn't my brother.
100%, Roy. And as we keep saying, they have to create a lot of energy to do that. What I want to go on to say, what I tell people with mediumship is we have to separate ourselves from the spirit communication so that we can get truly what spirit is saying to us. And Roy's right. You're probably in a peaceful state or in a more balanced state, and sent that little thought out to your brother, wondering if he was there or whatever. And because you've been in that state, he's found it easier to communicate with you. Me with my form of mediumship, I just separate myself. I become selfless and at peace, because we have to create the conditions for spirit to communicate with us, and spirit comes through with unconditional love. So we have to be that vibration of love and peace for them to be able to communicate successfully. So I agree with Roy 100% that you must have been in a peaceful, more balanced state to get that. All right. I don't know if you'd agree with that, Roy, but I'm going to put the next comment up in a minute.
Kirsten, does it take you a while to acknowledge things? What I'm saying is maybe he's tried to get through to you in other ways and you've not accepted it to date. So he thought the only way I can come in and do a real big thing, and that is give you my voice from the times that he was with you. That would just be interested to know your answer to that.
Thank you, Roy. Mel McConnell's saying she's had dreams and thoughts that have eventuated into reality. Is this classed as a form of mediumship? I would say yes.
Well, it's a prophecy. You get prophecy through dreams anyway.
Yeah, like people see plane crashes and stuff like that.
Yeah, the question gets very, very deep though. How you deal with things like that, because exactly. This day and age, there's a lot of skepticism and things like that. So if you were saying, "Oh, I saw this is going to happen," well, you may not be believed, you may be believed, but at the end of the day, that was for you. That was for you to say, "Look, I really did get that. I really was on the right vibration," that they got through to me to say, "Here we are." And it's funny because I was very, very privileged years ago when I was sitting in circle, and we were all told to go into meditation to ask for something that we could look forward to. Or what I actually saw was the Berlin Wall coming down, and this was about 8 years before it happened. It was great because when I see the filming on the TV, looking back at that time, the pictures that they show me, the film that they show me, is exactly what I saw in my dream. Of course, in those days, probably nobody would have believed that. They said another crackpot medium. We just let it go. What I should have done, if I get something like that, and maybe this is also something that you can do, Mel, is if you get something like that, write it down, put it in an envelope, seal it, put it somewhere safe, and then when you see that actually come to, take your envelope and show it to somebody else, get them to open it, put a seal on it if you want, and get them to open it and read what you saw. Because that's why they get the validation that you have been seeing these prophecies in your dreams.
Good answer, Roy. Good answer. What do you think of this, Roy? Past, present, and future all in the one place. And that's why we can get communications about future events like the Berlin Wall. I remember once vividly, I knew I was going to have an argument. I knew it word for word. This was years ago when I was a kid. And, there's a comment I want to put up as well. I'm trying to talk. I can't multitask. I'm only a man.
Don't run us down.
Yeah, right. I would say it is a form of mediumship, Mel. It depends on whether you want to develop it. A lot of people see future events or stuff like that. I've known different things, and I'm sure Roy's had these experiences, not only with the Berlin Wall, where you know something or you see something that's going to happen. Spirit do communicate heavily in dreams. There's mind dreams and spirit dreams. But I want to go along with the I don't want to say theory, but I want to go along with the truth that past, present, and future are all in the one place. So it's important to be in the present, and we can get communication from what in our own timeline will be a future event. but it will get shown to us in a dream or a feeling or a vision or whatever. I don't know if you'd agree with that, Roy, but
I'm not really sure, to be honest with you, Steve. I think that's a big subject in itself.
yeah, it's massive subject. We're just hitting on massive subjects all the time.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we always think of the past as the past. That's been our opportunity to learn. The present is, are we receiving the benefits of that learning? And further on down the line, did it reoccur and show us that we need to go through it all again? Which again comes back to when we say we're not learning things properly, we're going around and around and around. I would certainly say, whether you would call it mediumship or what, if we put the word mediumship aside for a while and just say that everybody has that ability to link with the world of spirit, and the spirit of world has the ability to link with everybody on the earth, you are getting your part. It's not something I get a lot, so I think to myself, well, that's a lovely thing to get. I would prefer something really nice and gentle to see into the future. I don't think I'd want to be holding on to things that are negatives, especially if you're waiting year after year after year for it to happen, which some people do.
Yeah, I think again acceptance, but I feel sorry for people that see disasters and like a plane crashing. How can you go to the airport and say, don't let that flight leave?
Yeah,
There's something wrong with the engine or something like that. That is the dilemma that people who get these things are faced with. And what Mel's saying is that she definitely wants to develop it, but have been reserved, scared, and shy, if I'm honest. What I want to say to you there is, Mel, is that when I was having all my weird and wonderful experiences, before I went into a spiritualist church, I realised that there must be a purpose for it. And there's a purpose for your experiences as well. And I believe that you and many others are being called to develop it for the greater good, because it is for the greater good. Okay. I was very shy and unconfident and everything like that. Remember, I was only sort of like coming up 18 years old, and I was the class dunce and everything like that. So I didn't have the confidence and everything like that. But spiritualism opened a whole new world to me, and where I was seen as normal, all right. And, it's a vocation. You've got to stand by the courage of your convictions, Mel. Don't be scared, because spirit will truly communicate with you and develop you through the vibration of love. Okay. But
Mel, sorry.
Yeah, I just want to round off is that, by doing this, by developing and eventually demonstrating, it brought my confidence out. It helped me to become confident. Right, we've only got a couple of minutes, Roy. If you can
I just wanted to quickly say to Mel, you're preaching to the converted. I don't know anybody that said, oh, when I went into this, I wasn't scared. I wasn't worried about it. I wasn't scared that I was going to give the wrong information. I wasn't scared that, you're speaking to the converted. We've been through this. We've been through all these things. And do you know what? I still go through these things. I still get times when I get up on the rostrum and I'm shaking like a leaf. So you have to find it in yourself and believe what you get, and keep a book on things and write down things that you've noticed, things that come to you into your dreams, things that you feel, and see how they progress. But the best place probably is sitting in a circle where you are going to get that experience from a more experienced medium. But do you know what? You're no different to anybody else, Mel. If you feel that you're getting this and you want to use it, then you can do it.
Yeah, I just want to say very, very quickly that believing in yourself, that the messages are coming through, and not doubting yourself. I think that's the part I'm most worried about. That is your spiritual development at this time, Mel. There's a lot to spiritual development, and we have to remove our emotional barriers to be able to communicate with spirit properly. So see this as your doubt and confidence as part of your development to overcome. All right, and Circle will help you with that. Right, Roy, thank you very much. It's been an
Thank
absolute
you.
pleasure to have you on, mate. And we'll certainly get you on again, because I've
Thank you.
enjoyed it. I don't know about anybody else, but I've enjoyed it. And before we get booted off, thank you very much. And I'll end the stream and see if I can close it down. All right. Anyway, thank you, Roy. Take care, mate. And thank you
Cheers.
for everybody for coming on. All right.
Thank you,
Can't do it
everybody.
without you. God bless.